She was just an invisible cleaner, until one splash of mud changed everything. Black Voice dramatic stories bring you the untold moments of life's twists, where one cruel act is met with an unexpected force. In just one split second, everything can flip. Stay tuned and don't miss what happens next. Subscribe for more captivating stories like If You Felt Emma's Pain, and comment your thoughts below. Emma walks slowly down the quiet street, her shoes worn out with every step. The weight of the world seemed to be on her shoulders as she carried the heavy burden of life's struggles. With each passing day, Emma worked tirelessly to keep her younger sister Olivia safe and fed. The small apartment they shared was nothing but a cramped space, but it was home. It had always been hard, but it had never felt as hopeless as it did now. Today, as Emma made her way to work, she thought about her mother, who had passed away 2 years ago. Life had always been a battle, but when her mom was still alive, at least she didn't have to face the world alone. Now she was on her own, balancing 2 cleaning jobs, all while trying to give Olivia a better future. But today felt different. She took the familiar path to Crownville Towers, but what happened next would change everything. A sleek SUV sped past her, splashing a large puddle of mud directly onto her. The force of the water hit her so suddenly that she staggered back in shock. Her hair, her uniform, even her small bag was covered in dirt. She stood there for a moment, frozen, before looking up at the car. The tinted window rolled down just enough to reveal the woman inside, laughing mockingly. "Watch where you're standing," she shouted with a smirk, before speeding off, leaving Emma standing there, humiliated and drenched. Her heart pounded in her chest, but no tears came. She couldn't afford to break down. There was no time for that. Emma picked up her bag, her hands trembling, and walked on. But little did she know, someone had witnessed the entire event. Across the street, Ethan, a young CEO, had been watching from his car. He had seen everything, the splash, the mocking laughter, and the look of defeat in Emma's eyes. He didn't know who the woman in the SUV was, but he knew her actions were cruel, and that wasn't something he could let go. Ethan picked up his phone. "Find out who that girl is. I want to know everything about her," he said calmly. He didn't know why, but something inside him told him that Emma deserved a better life. Meanwhile, Emma arrived at Crownville Towers, her clothes still soaked and her hair clinging to her face. She entered through the back door, trying to avoid the eyes of the staff, but it was impossible. Her supervisor, Mr. Clark, glared at her as she walked by. "Late again, Emma." "And what is this mess?" he barked. I was splashed by a car," she stammered, but Mr. Clark cut her off. "No excuses, get to work. We need this place spotless before the guests arrive." His voice was harsh, leaving no room for further explanation. As Emma walked to the cleaning closet, she heard the whispers. Some of her co-workers pitied her, but no one offered help. She changed into an old backup uniform and got to work, keeping her head down. But inside, she was hurting. She thought of Olivia at home, asleep in their cramped apartment, and she knew she couldn't afford to lose this job. She had to keep going. Across town, Ethan sat in his high-rise office, the sun just beginning to set. He was a man of few words, preferring to observe rather than engage. His assistant brought in the file he had requested. He looked at the photo attached to it, Emma, smiling beside a young girl, probably her sister. He tapped the photo with his finger. "She doesn't deserve that," he muttered under his breath. His assistant raised an eyebrow. "Do you want me to do something about it?" Ethan's eyes hardened. "Yes, but not yet. Let's keep watching." Meanwhile, Vanessa, the woman who had splashed mud on Emma, was in her luxury penthouse, adjusting her gold necklace in front of the mirror. Her phone buzzed non-stop with messages from fans and brand partners. She smiled confidently at her reflection, unaware of the consequences her actions had set in motion. "That girl was standing too close to the road," she said casually to her assistant, sipping her green smoothie. "She should be grateful. I didn't run over her feet." Her assistant laughed nervously, but Vanessa didn't seem to care. To her, life was all about winning, and she was born to be on top. Back at Crownville Towers, Emma's day dragged on. Every time she bent down to mop, her back ached. But she kept going. She thought about the tiny meal she'd eat later, just a piece of bread and some water. She didn't care about the food. She just wanted to get through the day. Around noon, as she sat on a crate behind the building, eating her small lunch alone, Ethan walked past. He wasn't dressed in his usual suit, but in casual clothes, a cap and sunglasses. He didn't make a move to speak to her, but his eyes were on her as she ate quietly, checking her phone for any missed calls, probably from Olivia. There was something about Emma's quiet strength that reminded Ethan of his late mother. She had raised him alone, never complaining, always putting others first. Emma had that same quiet resilience, and it moved him in a way he couldn't quite explain. He walked away slowly, already making plans in his mind. She doesn't know it yet, he thought, but her life is about to change. The next morning, as Emma prepared for work, she kissed Olivia goodbye, tied her sister's shoes, and packed her lunch. When she arrived at the hotel, something was different. In her locker was a small paper bag. Inside were new gloves, a sandwich wrapped in foil, and a folded note. For the girl who works with grace, even when the world is unkind. Emma blinked in disbelief. She looked around, but no one seemed to notice her reaction. She opened the sandwich slowly. It was fresh, warm. She hadn't had a hot breakfast in weeks. For the first time in a long while, a genuine smile spread across her face. Little did she know this was only the beginning. Ethan was watching from a distance, and his plan to help her was just starting to unfold. Part 3. A different perspective. Vanessa's inner struggle. Vanessa sat in front of her vanity, carefully applying her makeup. The gold necklace around her neck sparkled in the dim light, perfectly matching the designer blouse she wore. Her reflection in the mirror smiled back at her, confident and pristine. She was, after all, one of the most successful fashion influencers in the city. Her world was one of power, luxury, and status. Nothing could touch her, or so she thought. But as she adjusted the straps of her designer bag, her phone buzzed again. Another message from her stylist, another invitation to a high-end event. Her life was a whirlwind of parties, photo shoots, and endorsement deals. She was everything people aspired to be: successful, beautiful, and untouchable. At least that's how she saw it. Then her phone buzzed again, this time with a notification she hadn't expected. A post on social media. The image was blurry, but it clearly showed her SUV splashing muddy water onto someone. Her mind immediately jumped to the moment. Emma standing by the side of the road. The girl in the photo looked small and insignificant. Who cared about a cleaner, right? She'd been careless, sure, but that was the way of the world. People like her never noticed people like Emma. Yet, something about the image stayed with her. The caption read, "Some people think money erases manners." It was a jab, and it stung. Vanessa scrolled through the comments, her heart sinking with each new post. People were outraged. Some labeled her as cruel, others as arrogant. Her carefully curated image of perfection was starting to crumble. Who is doing this? Vanessa muttered to herself. She gripped her phone tightly, her knuckles turning white. What's the big deal? It's not like I ran her over. She should be grateful I didn't hurt her. But deep down, Vanessa knew the truth. She was angry. But not just because people were attacking her. She was angry because for the first time she felt exposed. She'd always been the one in control. Her beauty, her wealth, her status had given her power. But now, for reasons she couldn't quite explain, she felt vulnerable. Her assistant, Casey, stepped into the room, her nervous smile betraying the tension in the air. Vanessa, maybe you should apologize. Clear things up with the girl, or apologize? Vanessa cut her off, her voice sharp. Why should I apologize? I didn't do anything wrong. I was just driving. But even as she spoke, a nagging voice in her head whispered, Maybe you were wrong, Vanessa. The truth was, Vanessa didn't know how to deal with guilt. She'd spent her life surrounding herself with people who catered to her, who told her what she wanted to hear. In her world, money and beauty could solve almost any problem. But this was different. She'd made a mistake, and now people were judging her for it. It was unsettling. As she sat down on the couch, staring at the flood of online comments, her thoughts turned to something deeper, her childhood. Growing up, she had never been poor, but she'd never felt rich either. Her father was a successful real estate mogul, and he had always told her that to get ahead in life, you had to be ruthless. He taught her to put herself first, and that's exactly what she had done her entire life. But Emma was different. She had a strength in her eyes, a resilience that Vanessa could never seem to grasp. She was someone who had to fight for every inch, while Vanessa had been handed everything on a silver platter. Emma didn't need to flaunt her wealth to be powerful. She just was. It frustrated Vanessa, but also fascinated her. "Maybe I'm just having a bad day," Vanessa muttered, standing up and pacing the room. "This will blow over, it always does." But the doubt gnawed at her. The next day, Vanessa sat in her office, scrolling through more messages on her phone when she received a text from her father. "Have you seen the news? People are talking." Her stomach twisted. Her father was a businessman. He didn't concern himself with her personal life, but he was keenly aware of anything that could affect the family name. Vanessa stared at the screen for a long time before replying, "I'll fix it, don't worry." But she wasn't sure how to fix it. How do you fix something when you've lost control of it? The words in the comments haunted her. Some people think money erases manners. It was as if the universe had conspired against her. First the muddy splash, and now the backlash. Her public image was everything to her, and it felt as though it was slipping through her fingers. The realization hit hard. Her fame, her wealth, her beauty, none of it meant a thing if people didn't respect her. And respect wasn't something you could buy. As the days passed, Vanessa couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. She began to feel the weight of her actions, not just from the public eye, but from within. And then one evening, she found herself standing in front of the mirror, adjusting her clothes, fixing her hair, as she always did before an event. But something felt different. For the first time, she didn't like what she saw. The mirror reflected the image of a woman who had everything but nothing at the same time. The woman who had always believed she was above others, who had never questioned the cost of her actions, was now questioning everything. Vanessa's thoughts were interrupted by the ringing of her phone. She looked at the caller ID. Her father. "Again." "Vanessa," he said, his voice calm but firm. "I need to talk to you about your behavior lately." Her stomach dropped. Her father continued, "I've been hearing things. People are talking. Your reputation is more important than you think. You need to take responsibility for what you did." Vanessa's lips trembled. Take responsibility? For the first time, she realized something. She could no longer hide behind her wealth or her status. The truth was, she was afraid. Afraid that the very things she had built her life on were now the things that might tear her down. "I'll fix it," Vanessa said, her voice barely above a whisper. She ended the call, but as she looked at herself in the mirror again, the truth was staring back at her. The only thing she hadn't fixed was herself, and maybe, just maybe, that was the real problem. Part 4. The Climax and the Challenge. The days that followed Emma's unexpected promotion were filled with tension and uncertainty. Her life was changing in ways she had never imagined, but beneath the surface, doubt gnawed at her. It was as if the universe had suddenly opened up new doors for her, and though she wanted to walk through them, she wasn't sure if she was worthy. The whispers among her co-workers, the cold stares, and the unspoken questions about how she had gotten to the VIP floor all added to the pressure. No one had seen her as anything other than the cleaner, until now. In the quiet of the early morning, Emma sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the small, crumpled letter in her hand. It was the scholarship offer that Ethan had secretly arranged. She had read it countless times, and each time it felt like a dream that might shatter the moment she touched it. Could she really do this? Could she leave her cleaning job and study something that seemed so far out of reach? She thought of Olivia, still so young and full of hope, and of the promise she'd made to her mother that she would give her sister a better life. But the truth was, Emma had never seen herself as anything more than a woman destined to clean floors. She had worked in silence for so long, never daring to think of what else she could become. The weight of the scholarship felt like a burden she wasn't sure she could carry. If she accepted it, she would have to take the first real step towards the life she had dreamed of. But if she failed, there would be no going back. She could lose everything. As she sat there, the soft hum of the city creeping in through her window, she thought about the cruel day when Vanessa had splashed mud on her. That moment had been a turning point, but not just because of the humiliation. It had ignited something inside Emma, a fire that had been smoldering for years but had never fully burned. She had always accepted life's injustices, but now, for the first time, she felt the strength to rise above them. Still, the internal battle raged on. The question was never just about what she deserved. It was about whether she could live up to the expectations now placed upon her. Could she really become the woman Ethan believed she was? Could she rise above the image of the poor, invisible, cleaner, and claim her place in the world? Meanwhile, Vanessa was spiraling. The posts about her splashing mud on Emma continued to spread, and the damage to her image was growing with each passing hour. She had tried to ignore it, hoping it would die down, but it only got worse. Her father had warned her. He had made it clear that the family name was at risk, and it was her responsibility to fix it. Yet Vanessa couldn't shake the feeling that something else was happening, something she wasn't prepared for. Vanessa had always been the one in control. She had always been the one to set the rules and make the decisions. But now, as the whispers grew louder, she found herself wondering if she had ever truly been in control at all. The power she had wielded over others felt like a thin veil, and beneath it, there was a person she had buried deep inside. A person who wasn't as untouchable as she had believed. And Emma had become the symbol of everything Vanessa feared. Emma was the proof that kindness, humility, and strength could be more powerful than status or wealth. Vanessa's entire life had been built on the idea that those who had the most won. But now, Emma's quiet strength was proving that wrong. It was a terrifying thought. Vanessa had made enemies in her rise to the top. But she had never faced someone like Emma. Emma wasn't playing the game by her rules. She wasn't fighting with anger or with the desire to be seen. She was simply existing, working, and making a difference. That terrified Vanessa more than anything. On the day of the hotel's gala, everything reached a boiling point. The ballroom was filled with the city's elite. The grand chandeliers sparkled, casting a warm glow over the room, while live music played softly in the background. The guests were mingling, exchanging pleasantries, and taking their seats. Vanessa stood across the room, her posture impeccable, her smile radiant as always. But inside, she was a mess. The pressure to appear perfect had never been more suffocating. She knew she had to make an appearance at this event. She couldn't afford to seem weak. But with every glance from the guests, every whisper about her, she felt the walls closing in. She watched as Ethan, standing beside Emma, spoke with a smile that was reserved and genuine. He had been quiet, humble, and somehow, he had made everyone believe that Emma, the woman who had once been invisible, now deserved to be there. He was proud of her, and Vanessa hated that. How could he choose her over someone like her? She had done everything right in life. She had played the game to perfection. But Ethan's support of Emma felt like a slap in the face. As Emma stood at the front, accepting her award for her perseverance and strength, Vanessa's heart raced. The applause seemed deafening, but it wasn't for her. It wasn't her name being called. Emma was the one being celebrated. For a split second, Vanessa felt a pang of something she couldn't quite name. Envy, yes, but also regret. The regret that maybe, just maybe, she had never known what it meant to work for something real. All she had ever done was take. Emma had worked for everything, and now the world was finally seeing her. Vanessa had no idea what to do with this feeling. After the ceremony, as Emma walked off the stage, she was met by Ethan, who had a proud smile on his face. "You did great," he said quietly, his voice warm and sincere. But Emma didn't feel great. She felt torn between the joy of finally being recognized and the fear of losing it all. The scholarship, the promotion, the respect, none of it felt real yet. She was still the girl who had been splashed with mud, still the girl who had fought for every scrap of life. "I'm scared," she admitted softly, her voice trembling. "I don't know if I can handle this." Ethan looked at her, his expression softening. "You're stronger than you think, Emma. You've been handling this all your life, you just didn't know it." But even as she stood there, she knew she was standing on the edge of something much bigger. The question was, would she jump? Would she finally let go of the fear and embrace the future that was now hers for the taking? Or would she retreat back into the life she had always known, the life where she was invisible, where the world stayed the same? As the night wore on, Emma's internal struggle reached its peak. She had been handed a chance, an opportunity to rewrite her story, but in order to take that chance, she would have to face her deepest fears. The fear of failure, the fear of letting go of everything she had ever known, the fear of trusting herself. And then, as the gala continued, as the champagne flowed and the music played, Emma made her decision. With one final deep breath, she walked forward, into a future that was uncertain but hers to claim. Back at the hotel, Vanessa stood at the edge of the ballroom, watching Emma. The girl who had once been the target of her cruelty was now the one who had everyone's attention. Vanessa felt a pang of guilt, but it was more than that. It was a realization. She could never be who Emma was. And maybe that was the hardest truth to face. As Emma walked past her, Vanessa hesitated. For a moment, she almost called out to her, to apologize, to ask for forgiveness. But the words never came. Instead, she just watched as Emma moved through the crowd, strong, graceful, and unwavering. And in that moment, Vanessa knew she had lost not to Emma, but to herself. Part 5. The End and the Lesson. The evening came to a close with the kind of quiet that felt like a shift had taken place. As Emma walked back to her modest apartment, the cool night air felt different. She had taken the first real step into a life she had only ever dreamed of. Her heart was still racing, but this time it was because she had chosen to keep moving forward. Her phone buzzed, and a message from Olivia popped up on the screen. "How was the gala? Did you get your prize?" Olivia's innocent words brought a rush of warmth to Emma's chest. Emma smiled softly, replying, "Yes, I did, and I'm doing it for you, Liv. Everything is going to be okay." The truth was, everything was already changing, and Emma knew she was no longer the same girl who had been splashed with mud on that rainy morning. The pain and humiliation she had felt that day had transformed into the fuel that powered her rise. That moment, cruel as it had been the catalyst for her growth. She had seen firsthand how strength doesn't always come from power or wealth. It comes from perseverance, kindness, and the courage to stand tall, even when the world tries to knock you down. As she walked through the door of their small apartment, Olivia ran up to her, jumping into her arms. Emma hugged her tightly, grateful for the little things, the love that grounded her and the hope that kept her going. Her journey was far from over, but for the first time, she felt like she had everything she needed to face what was next. Meanwhile, in the distance, Ethan sat in his office, a satisfied smile playing on his lips. He had been watching Emma from afar, but tonight he saw her in a new light. She had done it. She had claimed her place in the world, not because someone gave it to her, but because she had earned it. Ethan knew that the best way to help someone wasn't always through grand gestures. It was through showing them that they already had everything they needed to succeed. He had given her the push, but it was Emma who had taken the leap. As for Vanessa, she found herself in an empty apartment later that evening, staring at her reflection in the mirror. For the first time, the familiar face that had always been so perfect, so controlled, seemed foreign to her. The fame, the wealth, the accolades, it had all seemed so important. But now they felt hollow. She had learned a bitter lesson that, people didn't care about your money or status. They cared about how you treated them, how you made them feel. And in that moment, Vanessa realized that she had never truly understood what it meant to earn respect, not just command it. The lesson Emma's journey from being an invisible cleaner to becoming a symbol of strength and resilience is a powerful reminder that true success isn't about wealth or recognition. It's about the quiet, consistent effort to rise above the challenges life throws at us. The real power lies in how we handle adversity. It's about finding the courage to stand tall in the face of humiliation and continuing to push forward, no matter how difficult the road may seem. In a world that often values appearances and material success, Emma's story teaches us that kindness, integrity, and persistence will always win in the end. Every obstacle Emma faced was a test of her character, and every time she faced adversity, she chose to move forward rather than give up. That's where true strength lies, not in avoiding difficulties, but in embracing them and using them as stepping stones to reach something greater. This story is also a reminder that no one is defined by their past or their circumstances. Emma didn't allow the labels others had placed on her to shape her future. She broke free from the chains of her past and embraced the possibility of something better. If you've ever felt stuck, overlooked, or underestimated, know that you have the power to change your own story, just like Emma did. Finally, we must remember that actions matter more than words. Vanessa's journey, on the other hand, is a cautionary tale about how easily we can lose sight of what truly matters. In the end, her superficial power was no match for Emma's quiet strength, and the realization came too late. No amount of money or social status can replace the value of humility, kindness, and the ability to truly connect with others. Call to action. So, what's the next step for you? Are you ready to take that first step towards the life you've always dreamed of? Don't wait for the world to validate you. Validate yourself. Like Emma, you have everything you need to rise above your challenges. It's time to take control of your story and make it one worth telling. If you've been inspired by Emma's journey, share your thoughts in the comments below. What's your story? What obstacles have you overcome? And how did they shape who you are today? And remember, you are the author of your own life. Don't let anyone else dictate your worth. Subscribe for more powerful stories like If Emma's Strength resonated with you, and share this message to inspire others to rise above their challenges. Together we can create a world where strength, resilience, and kindness are the true measures of success.